Iambic pentameter. Of course, you don't want to limit yourself to the strict forms of the meter. That could get pretty difficult. Title text. Of course, you don't want to limit yourself to the strict forms of the meter. That could get pretty difficult. Explanation. In this part of the My Hobby series, the hobby is responding to casual questions using iambic pentameter, which is most commonly associated with William Shakespeare and Shakespearean plays. Iambic pentameter is a form of poetic verse defined by the number of syllables per line. In this form, a line contains exactly 5 penta means 5 in Greek iambs per line. An iamb is a unit of 2 syllables with the stress falling on the second. The actual breakup of the words is unimportant, the definition is based solely on the pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables. One line of strict iambic pentameter will have 10 syllables, with the stress falling on the second, fourth, sixth, eighth, and last. In this comic, Cueball i.e. Randall, the one with the hobby, is replying to his friend's questions. The friend also looks like Cueball, but are here differentiated by who has the hobby. Cueball's responses are each one line of iambic pentameter, just visually broken into 2 lines for space reasons. They read, adding the emphasis, well, I can meet the plane at 10 of 6 and I'll meet him at the stairs before the gate. With a sort of bouncing rhythm. This is the strict form of iambic pentameter. In practice, poets often strayed from the strict count of iambs as the image text suggests. Wikipedia offers 2 Shakespearean examples, being Now is the winter of our discontent, in which the first iamb is reversed, now is stressed rather than is, and to be or not to be, that is the question, which adds an extra unstressed syllable at the end. As the comic suggests in the title text, without such exceptions, it can be very difficult to stick to strict iambic pentameter for every sentence. Transcript. 2 identical cueballs are having a conversation. The latter is identified as Cueball, since he represents Randall who has the hobby. Friend, what time can you pick Michael up? Cueball, well, I can meet the plane at 10 of 6. Friend, do you know where to find him? Cueball, I'll meet him at the stairs before the gate. Below the 2 cueballs are the following text. My hobby, answering casual questions in iambic pentameter. Trivia. Iambs and other types of poetry feet are the subject of 1383 magic words. Discussion. It's really not so hard to write such prose, to stick to Shakespeare's scheme for fellow bards. Of course the preparation always slows, so spontaneity ain't on the cards. The better art of live concoction sits beyond the skill of your editor, and this is why the comic title bits are true and accurate without a flaw, or so I humor Randall by these lines, restricted by the form I've set upon, fearing that soon I'll commit rhyming crimes, that you the readers see arrive, ere long. And thus a sonnet author finds to be, whether for fun or for a dark lady. 178.98.31.27 1408, June 24, 2013 UTC. I am stunned. Flabbergasted, of a lack of words. You, good sir, are a hero. A true poet, a master of words. I applaud you, and thank you for your time here. Netherren 5 Talk 1504, February 25, 2019 UTC. Please create an account, explain xkcd wants you here. Nidcap Talk 954, December 9, 2020 UTC. Wait, normal people don't communicate exclusively in iambic pentameter. Shakespeare lied to me. 199.27.128.62404, June 4, 2014 UTC. There is a community portal discussion of what to call cueball and what to do in case with more than one cueball. I have added this comic to the new category multiple cue balls. Since Randall is the one with the hobby and also the one that cue ball represents, I have kept cue ball in this explanation and transcript. But made a note of it. Kinda Talk 1358, March 15, 2015 UTC. If you unstress both of and course, the title text also kind of works with Iambic meter. Aroner Talk 2325, January 21, 2020 UTC. Explain xkcd, it's cause you're dumb. 1916, June 3, 2023. I rarely speak non-iambic, that's for sure. I surely won't attempt to find a cure. It hardly is a problem, do you mind? I just can't help that I'm the rhyming kind. If people all around the world agreed, and rhymed instead of waging wars unjust, the world would be a better place indeed. Thus, if you ask me, poetry's a must. That said, if one of you explainers know, enlighten me on whether there's a rule, which parts of quads of penta-iambic lines, should rhyme together, like I just did. Show Fleximilian Talk 2344, September 1, 2023 UTC. Refer to places such as rhyme schemes link in there, you will perhaps come find a clue. To start, for your first of verses, think, perhaps a Baliol or Clarahoa. Though as your stanzas go from here to there, the scheme does change in ways I need not say. The second verse is of a type not rare, in fact I do prefer myself that way. It's at the last where head and foot alone, both rhyme, the lines betwixt are free from that. In isolation I don't see it shown, of which the listed group or style it's at. 172.71.242.206909, September 2, 2023 UTC. What the hell is 10 of 6 Yorkshire Pudding Talk 1233, April 18, 2025 UTC. It's an Americanism for 10 to 6, or 5:50 a.m. p.m. Maybe of in other places too. I know some European countries use the term that basically translates to 5:30 to mean 4:30, half an hour before 5 o'clock, rather than 5:30 5 o'clock plus half an hour, but I'm not entirely sure if any that do this have the equivalent or implicitly does, by their grammar rules, and I forget which ones to check. I'm half remembering that maybe some of the Scandinavian languages do it, not so sure about the Romance ones. What little I remember of German makes me think that's not one, and once you start going into the more eastern lands of Europe you get really weird stuff, from my Anglophonic perspective, so who knows. It might also be archaic British English, at least as far back as Shakespeare, could be Chaucerian, though maybe that's just because it sounds like 8 of the clock, 10:4, me hearties. And timekeeping back then wasn't really regularly adhered to except to the pre-clock, but prior equivalent of stroke of the hour delineations for most people who even had that kind of scheduling necessity. I could probably look that up, but it's certainly of a different time and or place from thyself and myself. Of course, it befits the whole style of the meter, even if not Randall's usual phrasing in his everyday merkin. 172.70.160.182 April 18, 2025 UTC. The title text is also in Iambic Pentameter. Guess who if you desire conversing what I have done. 1905, April 18, 2025 UTC. As I read it, it obeys its own conclusion by not quite doing so. Using between feet and between polymeters, of course, you don't want to limit yourself to the strict forms of the meter. That could get pretty difficult. 5 iambs neatly, though assuming one is no different from 1 to 5 more iambs or 4 and 1 from the next, slightly awkward either way, then 3 or 4, if the last was 4, but very awkward either way. I can't work out how to get it to work better. Closest I can do is to uncontract things and split some syllable and a half words awkwardly. Of course you do not want to limit yourself to the xkcd for ms of the met er. That could get pretty difficult. 5, 5 and 4.5, but with truly awful transitions in places. Or maybe it works better in your or Randall's accent, but I just think it's supposed to be self-demonstrating as to how some things aren't pentameterable. P.S. Your signature sort of runs on from your sentence. Might help if you remember to add a to the end of your sentences. Might also help if you have it say something like at the start of your signature just to make the link more obvious, not part of the message. 172.70.58.5 1957, April 18, 2025 UTC